With all thy getting, get understanding. Understanding is the most precious possession of each soul. It is your inner vision, the intuitive faculty by which you can clearly perceive the truth about yourself and others and all situations that arise in your path, and correctly adjust your attitudes and actions accordingly. That is a big definition. In this world, our understanding is often short-sighted. When our mental vision is thus impaired, it is impossible to see into the future to know what will be. Being blinded to the potential results of our actions, we frequently do the wrong thing. In order to get along well in this world, you must learn to perceive accurately your immediate circumstances and surroundings, and to perceive also what you are headed for in the distant future. You should have such keen and perceptive insight that you will be able to tell what your life is going to be, 2 years or 10 years hence. If your eyes are short-sighted, you can only see clearly things that are very near to you. And if you have long-sighted vision, you can clearly see and distinguish objects in the distance, but not those close to you. Whether you are short-sighted or long-sighted, the remedy is corrective glasses. Otherwise, your vision will be blurred and you will not see things as they are. Similarly, if your understanding is short-sighted or long-sighted, it is time for you to put on the mental glasses of attention, the ability to focus the mind so that its perceptions are clear and accurate. Thus the power of understanding is increased by attention. Conversely, restlessness, that which ruffles and diffuses the mind, blurs vision and causes misunderstanding. Emotion blurs your vision. Moods blur your vision. Most people act, not out of understanding, but according to their moods. Prejudices also blur your vision. These preconceived notions distort your understanding and prevent you from seeing clearly. In my experience with the great ones in India, the first thing I learned was to clear my vision of all forms of restlessness and mental prejudice that might blur my understanding. It often happens that understanding has been prejudiced from childhood according to environment and circumstances. Such a warped understanding cannot see any situation clearly. You should analyze the many prejudices that your understanding is subject to. Anytime you are making a decision or taking action, ask yourself if you are doing it through understanding or through emotion or some other prejudicial influence on your mind. As long as you are subject to greed or anger, as long as you are influenced by the wrong thinking of others, as long as you are affected by the misunderstanding of others, so long will your own understanding be unclear. Seek the help of a spiritual teacher who knows God. Because of prejudices, moods, emotions, you do not always see your own mind as it really is. Therefore, it is wise to find some spiritual teacher or teachings that can show you how to analyze and correct your thoughts. They have real understanding who have fellowship with God. All souls who are of the divine have clarified their understanding by attunement with His wisdom. Association with them will give you light. I respected my guru, Swami Sri Yukteswari, not only because he was my spiritual teacher, but because he gave me that understanding. Any clarity in my vision I owe entirely to him, not to my family or anyone else. No one loved parents more than I loved mine, but the clarity of vision my guru taught me made me unshakable in the path of truth. I remember when I left home and went to Benares to renounce the world, I was after something much greater than money could afford. I had analyzed the lives of those who had money, and I didn't want to live their kind of life. I knew I would regret it if I tried. I saw that others had many things that I might have wanted, and I analyzed what would happen to me if I followed their path. I saw clearly that I would never have been happy. While I was in Benares, God led me to my guru. Later, in his ashram, I said to him one day, "I am called to my home. I must go to see my father. He loves me very much. Master knew my family would try to hold me. Better not go," he advised. "You may not be able to come back." But I said, "Guruji, I promise I will return." For I knew there was no other life for me. Love for our parents and attachment to our parents are different things. Attachment clouds understanding. Divine love is never blinded. I know that I love my parents more than anyone else in the family does, and that by giving my life to God, I have done much more for them than I would otherwise have been able to. When I went home, my father, who is not given to emotion, was so grateful to see me that he had tears in his eyes. "You have come back," he said. "I am glad. In those few words there was much meant. His affection was so deep, he never wanted to express it outwardly. As a great saint once said, the moment you utter your love, some of that pure feeling has flown from your heart and become mixed with the foulness of the mouth. The germs and taint of the HPS have soiled it. God loves you more than anybody else. That is why he doesn't tell you. He shows his love silently through demonstrations. As I progressed on the spiritual path, I received more love from God than I ever could have from any human being. But to get back to my story, as I stood before my father, he asked me to remain at home to take the place of my elder brother, who had passed on. "Do you suppose I die?" Father said, "Who will look after your younger brothers and your sisters?" "Father," I replied, "I love you more than anyone else in this world, but I love God more. He who gave me such a father, how could I leave the God who had blessed me with such a loving parent? If the Heavenly Father hadn't put that love in his heart, how could my earthly father love me? Duty to God fulfills duty to all, because without him, we would not have any loved ones. This is true understanding." Father couldn't say anything further. He understood. And when I went away again, singing, "I am crossing the river of delusion, shall not turn back lest I weaken," everyone in the house was weeping. By worldly standards, it seemed very cruel to leave them, but through that renunciation, the greatest blessing came to me and to them. By serving God first, I could do far more for them spiritually than by any material aid I could offer. A few years later, when I returned with illumination, I took Father to see my boys' school at Ranchi, and he said, "I am not worthy of you." "No, no," I remonstrated, "I am not worthy of you." Then he told me, "I am glad now that you didn't turn back to take the railway job I wanted you to accept." Life without understanding is spiritual and material suicide. Blessed are those who have understanding. It is the greatest need on the spiritual path and on the path of life. Understanding is the searchlight that illumines your way and brings success. Before you can attain the crowning goal of this life, you must have that important faculty. So never be blind, never be misunderstanding. It is spiritual and material suicide. Understanding should be your guiding force in every situation. No matter what your trials, try to understand. God never causes harm or suffering to anyone. It is we who, by understanding or misunderstanding, help or hinder ourselves. Pray to God that no matter what experiences come to you, you may have understanding. It is the only thing that will save you. When my trials become very great, I first seek understanding in myself. I don't blame circumstances or try to correct anybody else. I go inside first. I try to clean the citadel of my soul to remove anything that obstructs the soul's all-powerful, all-wise expression. That is the successful way to live. To fly away from problems may seem the easiest solution, but you gain strength only when you wrestle with a strong opponent. One who doesn't have difficulties is one who doesn't grow. When you have understanding, you have no fears. In understanding lies security. Many, many trials I have faced in life. The most difficult of all are those with human beings, because they do not understand. I have seen people I have loved, people to whom I have given my heart, misunderstand. But that has never created bitterness in me. If bitterness arises in your heart out of the non-understanding of others, you will lose your own understanding. Do not let yourself feel hurt when someone misunderstands you. Rather, pay more attention to helping that person. If you can neutralize your feelings toward those who misunderstand you, you will be ever ready to help anyone and everyone. All those who follow this path of self-realization must hold nothing but goodwill for all. Understanding must have both heart and head. Understanding is the vision of your inner being, the sight of your soul, the telescope of your heart. Understanding is a balance of calm intelligence and purity of heart. Emotion is not love. Emotion is distorted feeling that will lead you to do the wrong thing. And understanding that is guided solely by the intellect is cold-blooded. It too will teach you to do wrong. There are people you can't even talk to unless you rouse their emotion, and others you cannot move except by reason. Men sometimes become intellectually ossified, and women occasionally become emotionally unreasonable. You must have balanced understanding. If your understanding is governed by both heart and head, then you have clear vision to see yourself and others. You will also be able to know and assess what others are thinking of you. True understanding tells you when you are right or wrong. When you are right, someone may say you are wrong, and you can be wrong, and somebody may say you are right. Now, if you have understanding, you know in your heart whether you are right or wrong. You have to watch and correct yourself. Suppose someone tells you that what you are doing is wrong. Then you should go into the inner sanctum of your heart and find out if you are in error. Analyze your motives. If you are wrong, correct yourself. Those persons who have the greatest understanding are the ones whose opinions and guidance are to be trusted. That is why I trusted Master so completely. I could talk to him as openly as I could talk to myself. To cultivate that kind of understanding, learn to keep your mind free of all prejudices when you talk to people. If your understanding is clear, you can love and help others without being hurt or without hurting anyone else. It is most wonderful when you can love all beings, when you can see their good and bad points without the prejudices of your own mind and without the prejudices that others have. You will learn to love each one truly when your love is no longer conditioned by your personal desires. When you have that understanding, no one can hurt you. Sorrow comes when a desire is not satisfied. Pleasure comes when a desire is fulfilled. Thus our happiness comes and goes. That is why Lord Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, be even-minded in pleasure and sorrow. He doesn't tell you to be callous or hard like a stone. He tells you to lean understanding. When you live in that impregnable castle of understanding, no sorrow can touch you, no disease or tortures of the flesh can reach you. Use understanding to chalk out your path and the future progress of your soul. It will enable you to find the right course without being prejudiced by anything. If you want to hold on to your understanding, love and respect all, but never be prejudiced by anybody or by your own thoughts, because it will be disastrous. As soon as the world is able to confuse you, you will be lost. But if you have a clear understanding, then no matter what clouds others try to create, you will see what is right.